Hello, my name is Tim Hudson. I am the National Sales Manager. I've also been called the Vice President of Consulting for Associated Crafts and Willett Hauser. I hired on in February 8th of 2008, and probably one of the better decisions of my life. And I handle all of the sales guys out there, the consultants that are running around the field, all my guys and Cynthia. She's my lone female out there, but she's very good. And basically, I make sure that from the time that our consultants go out there and start talking and working with the churches to the time they get the project procured, I am heavily involved throughout the entire process. Fortunately, most of the consultants handle their business very well. But if they do need me, I step in for that and just make sure that we're able to keep these projects coming in and keep everybody busy. That's my job.
Okay, so Timmy, when a salesperson goes out and sees a church, how do they know, what do they look for a repair on site?
The first thing we see obviously is when we pull up outside. So one of the things that we look for is the old polycarbonates. After 10 to 15 years, they begin to yellow. So if they're really yellowed over or fogged over, as a lot of people talk about, then we know those windows probably have had no attention for at least 30 years.
And that's the plastic outside.
That's that's the covering outside. Now, not all the churches have covering, but a lot of them do these days. So that's an instant giveaway for us. I mean, that's a church that we want to go talk to because we know those windows haven't been seen for 30 or 35 years. So that's the first giveaway. That's what would cause me to stop.
So what if they don't have that plastic or that acrylic or Lexan over top of it?
I'm going to be looking at general condition of the windows. I mean, I look at the whole church too because that'll tell me if they maintain things or not. But when I get to the windows, it's everything from if I've got chipping paint around the sills of the window. A lot of times if they don't have covering from the exterior, you can see the windows are buckling. You may see some broken glass. You may see glass that's actually, because of the shifting and moving of the building over time and expansion and contraction, you may see pieces of glass coming out of the lead cane. And this is all visible from the exterior. On the interior, especially if they have covering on the outside where I can't see all that, I look for bulges, I look for broken glass, I look for cracked glass, I look for holes in the glass. In faceted windows, the dalle de verre, we're looking for what we refer to as pure light leaks. And that's actually the sunshine peeking through a piece of glass in the epoxy, because that tells me that window is having some problems and is moving. So there's a lot of different things that we have to be on point for. And then we have to know how to write that up and propose it to the church so that when our guys show up, they actually know what they're looking to fix.
Awesome. So tell us about your proposal. I know you guys go out and do kind of a free inspection on all churches that want that. Can you kind of tell us about that?
And matter of fact, all the consultants and myself work typically off their iPad, and our complete database system is on there. So as long as I have a signal from my Verizon account, I can pull that up. I take the pictures right through that system, and I actually assign that window or that picture to a window as I take those throughout the database. I can also put the measurements in, and then I can go down each window and say, okay, this one's got a bulge, this one's got 2 pieces of broken painted glass and 1 piece of unpainted glass broken. So I don't have to worry about remembering this stuff. I'm standing right in front of the window. So it really improved our accuracy, our overall proposal, and putting all that stuff together. And then also within each window, it's detailed out that this one needs to be covered, this one has certain repairs, the next one may have no repairs, and there's a picture of that window. So the guys have an immediate reference point, and plus that's coupled together with a sketch of the building, our building diagram that has all the windows numbered.
So that building diagram, let's say they get accepted that job, we are doing that proposal, the road crew shows up. Mm-hmm. So they actually, the project manager who's head of that crew is actually going around with their customer and saying, hey, we're doing covering on this window, cementing, and they go kind of a pre-walkthrough. Tell us how important that contract is for that moment.
That is hugely important, and I'm pretty sure it's something that is special to us. Over the years, we have different processes put in place that ensure our quality and ensure, most importantly, that that customer not only is happy with the end result, but understands the process. We've never ever been afraid to educate our client, something we take a lot of pride in. So at that point, not only is that building diagram color coded, as in if there's certain windows that don't have any color on them on the sketch, then that immediately tells that project manager, we're not doing any work at all on those windows. So it's very easy to follow for the project manager, the customer, when they're looking at the proposal and the whole 9 yards. So once they get on site and they're walking that customer around the building and they're looking at each window, they're actually going line by line on the proposal of what they're going to do to the window. This creates a situation where the customer truly understands what's going to happen, and there's no confusion if they misheard something or thought they heard something. It's, I mean, you know, we do what's on the contract. So it's a very nice piece, nice way to approach it. Once that's signed off on, and this is probably the most important part, we do what we refer to as the benchmark window. We typically pick a smaller, lower window everybody can walk up to. And I know for a fact that the crew goes in and they complete all the work A to Z on that window, which is not our typical process on the whole church. But we want to finish that one, get the customer out and get their blessing on the finished product. Now we know we've got the right frame, the right covering, it looks like they want it to, the whole 9 yards, right? Once that happens, the boys are off to the races. Now they're going to get that project done, and they're going to work in their phases like they normally do. At the very end, we're going to do another final walkthrough. It's the same thing, proposal in hand, showing the work. We're going to make absolutely sure before we leave the project that that customer is happy and satisfied. I mean, that is our goal every project.
That's great. And how many crews do you guys have out there?
We have
from California to Maine and all in between.
To Alaska, Florida, Hawaii. I know your dad's been on jobs in Hawaii. 14 crews across the nation. Most all of them have 2, but several of them have 3 and 4 guys working. Just depends on the project manager.
And then what about your sales team? Tell us a little bit about them and how many you got.
I have 6 consultants running around the country in their respective areas doing what I do. I help them with everything from meetings for bigger projects where they want somebody else in with them to, hey Tim, what code do I use on the proposal for this? Whatever it is, there's something unfamiliar, something we don't do every day. So I basically govern all that stuff, and all the questions come through me. That way I can figure out, does it go to Robert in production? Does it go to Kathy Jordan in New Windows? Is this something I need to talk to our CEO about, or Mikkel, or whatever the case is? So that just keeps a nice flow, and they have one person to contact for everything. And that's where I come in, and that's what I do. But I do the same thing that they do. I go church to church and state to state. I mean, I cover Arizona occasionally, which I'll do that more now because Pat's moving on to the the Midwest. And we're moving over to Arabia. But we're moving him to the Midwest. And I'm also going to be working your grandfather's old territory, which I'll be going into Eastern Ohio, Western Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Kentucky, and work in that area, even though I live in Arizona. It's still a nice area for me because my family's from there.
Perfect. So tell us about how long you've been with Associated Crafts and Willett-Hauser.
February 8th was 10 years for me with the company, and I've been the national sales manager for 4 years.
That's awesome.
Shortly after we acquired Willett-Hauser.
Great. And we'll kind of go back to what the guys do out on the road. So we talked about protective covering, we talked about cementing. What is, when the road crews out there do something pretty amazing, what is the one thing that they always go, oh wow, like the difference that the client can see?
That's really, there's 2 things that they see immediately. Obviously, there's a great improvement when we're done doing protective covering on a project, especially if it had no covering before, or they had that old polycarbonate that I was talking about earlier, right? I mean, it's just a tremendous difference. And then when they're inside the church, because of the re-cementing process that actually cleans the exterior of the glass and all that, then we put up the new covering. And I get it all the time how brilliant the windows are now. So there is a lot more light coming through those because there was dingy coverings and the windows were dirty and weathered, and it's a huge difference.
It makes a big difference inside the church.
Inside and outside. I mean, it's an incredible facelift on the outside. It makes it look like a brand new building. So, nice touch.
Tell us about the different types of plastic, so that goes over the protective covering. What do we offer?
Okay. There's several different products. The two plastics are pure cast acrylics, 1/4 inch. Those are roughly 25 to 30 times more break resistant than the same thickness of glass. Really good protection, probably our most commonly used protective covering. Then we have polycarbonates, the other plastic. These have incredible strength, but this is the stuff after 10 to 15 years begins to yellow and fog over. And that's just due to the properties within that product. Acrylic typically never yellows over. It'll stay clear. It's just not quite as strong. The polycarbonates, 250 times more break resistant than the same thickness of glass. It is incredible stuff. I'll put a sledgehammer in your hands, have at it. You're going to tear away the frame before you go through this stuff. It's incredible. But it does have both the plastics have the downside of they scratch easy. Then we have glass products. We really stay away from laminated. It doesn't have a lot of strength. It has less strength than regular 1/4 inch glass. So 1/4 inch glass, tempered glass, and then we do insulated units. And that requires special framing in almost all cases.
Tell us about your guys' framing.
Am I what?
Your framing. What types of framing we use. The colors, choices, selection we have.
Oh, sure. The basic colors are going to be almond, off-white, putty is what they call them, white, and bronze. Those are the three basics. We can go into other custom colors. It is very expensive. This framing is extruded specifically for us. And most of your applications are going to take some sort of framing, okay? It's always aluminum with us. If we're doing insulated units, then you're going to be looking at our double and triple glazed units that actually have one interior channel for the stained glass window, and then there's a thermal break in the middle of that, and the exterior frame houses the 1-inch insulated unit. We can go down as small as 5/8 on that as well, but that's usually a separate frame that we set. And then sometimes there's the building, due to a stone frame or a concrete frame, just does not allow us to set any type of frame. So we actually glaze the covering right on top of the stained glass. Awesome. And we give it as much room as we can, but sometimes it's just the only way to do it.
What if we have a rose window? Are you guys able to make frames for those?
Oh, yes. And we bend everything on site. Sometimes Garrick will help the guys out and pre-bend to a certain degree. But in that case too, when that product gets to the site, then the guys get up there, and we also, all of our crews carry custom benders that are built by us for our product. Nobody else has these. They're very expensive units. And that allows the guys to bend these frames intricately to match the existing mullions. Because we don't want to be the guys that take away the aesthetics from the stained glass that we're working on. So you can look at some of these now and you'll pull up outside, and I mean, most people won't notice it. I notice immediately. You'll have a tic-tac-toe grid going up against this window that has all these beautiful ornate mullions. And you walk inside and you see the tic-tac-toe grid. It's ugly. So our guys take all the time to bend to those existing mullions. So when you're inside the church looking out, you never see that. We don't want to take away from the beauty. Yeah. Very important.
Very important. What about the cementing process? I know that it's a little different than what we do on the studio. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. I've done a little bit of that. So basically it's mixed up a little thinner, and we apply it with a brush in most cases. And we're going to put that cement on, let it set up, and we're going to come back and we're going to take off all the excess and get all that cement back off the window. And as we do that, because that cement has had a little time to set up and dry now, we're going to actually forcibly brush that cement back into the lead cames. So that reseals the window, gives your lead a little bit more new luster, and as a byproduct, cleans the exterior of the glass. So all that makes it shinier, makes it clean, and all that's done, of course, before we paint. So almost always when we re-cement, we have to paint.
Perfect. And then what about bulges? I know you talked a little bit about that. Can you explain to us what a bulge is?
Yeah, basically over time, stained glass windows, like the rest of your church, is going through expansion and contraction on a daily basis. Is it gradual? Yes, of course it is. But over time, lead's a very soft metal, and typically they're on the bottom, but I've seen bulges at the very top of a 25-foot window and the rest of it's perfectly straight. But there was something in the design of that window, the way that lead came together, the way it was supported or not supported, that has allowed it to begin to bow. It may be bowing into the church, it may be bowing outside. More often than not, I see it bowing to the interior. And then once in a while we get up to a window and it literally, when you stand underneath it, it looks like a roller coaster. There's just bulges all the way up the window. So what we do in those situations is, and it really depends on the project manager. Many of them can manipulate these bulges in place. So they'll remove the braces that are there if they need to. A lot of times these braces are loose at this point. They will manipulate this window back into a straight, level piece as it should be. So we call it flattening a bulge. And then after they're done with all that, they put up additional steel braces and make sure that the braces that are there are tight as well. And that's how, because that window is going to tell us the story. It's telling us where it's weak. So we're going to get it flat and give it additional support. We're always going to put those additional braces where it provides maximum strength to the window with the least amount of effect on the aesthetics.
Basically keeping it from bulging again.
Exactly. And we're not going to put a brace through the face of Jesus or a saint, or we're not going to do that.
Make it look natural.
Exactly. Yeah. We don't even really want you to see those braces. So, but we also try to do things too, like a lot of the older windows in the older churches, they have round braces like rebar. And if that's what's on there, that's what we're going to put in place there. We want to be historically correct whenever possible. As we move to the windows that have been built later and installed later, most of those are a flat steel brace. And those are obviously much easier to hide in the profile of the window. So they just take away less from the aesthetics.
Awesome. So what if a church has a broken piece of glass? What would our PMs do out there on the road?
They would go in there and typically they're going to find the closest edge where they can manipulate that piece of lead came to loosen up the rest of that glass. Because a lot of times, if it's a spider break, there's really no place to reach in and start pulling the glass out, right?
So they don't have to remove the whole window, they just remove that piece.
Oh yeah, not at all. We don't have to do that. That's what's incredible about our crews too. We do so much work on site that some of the other studios around the country, with all due respect, they would have to pull that window and take it back to their studio. So we're not going to take your priceless window out of your church and haul it across the country because it's got two pieces of broken glass.
We have the ability and the crew and the craftsmen to do
Exactly.
it.
I mean, that's why we call them craftsmen, okay? Because they're they know what they're doing. So I've helped the guys with different stuff like that. I spent the better part of one day helping one project manager driving around Tennessee, and the third place I went to, I finally found a match on the glass. So I was in town at the time. I told them, look, I'll help you out. I'll go find this, so they could keep working on the project. And even I was amazed. I was able to match this glass. It's one of the toughest things we do in the industry. Nobody can guarantee an exact match, but we do a pretty good job of it.
We talked to Garrick a little earlier and he talked about how much of a big selection we have in the studio.
Oh, yeah.
Where they can send it out onto the road as well if that's needed.
Right. And it's nice too, because typically when the guys get that broken piece out, they're going to tape it all together, what pieces they have, and they're going to FedEx that back to the studio. And that allows our glazers there to put it on a light table and get a real match, or as close as we possibly can. And I would probably say 99 times out of 100, nobody sees a difference. All they see is that now that glass is back there like it's supposed to be.
Awesome. So how long does a job take out on there? If we had a contract that was $30,000, how long would that job take for our crews?
So depending on different things like the weather, happenings at the church, funerals, that type of thing that we have to work around. If I was talking to my customer on that project, I would tell them that the crew will be on site anywhere between 7, 10 at the outside 12 days on that size of a project.
Sounds like you do like a $3,500 production.
Yeah, I kind of round it to 4,000.
Okay.
Most of the guys are really good at exceeding our expectations. So, and I make sure the church understands that's working days. Most of the guys don't work on Sundays, and every once in a while we got to send them home.
Yeah. Awesome. I guess the last thing is, what makes Associated Crafts and Willett-Hauser different than other companies out there?
Quality, quality, quality. I was sitting at a table a year and a half ago at a sales meeting at the Winona studio, where even though it's a sales meeting, we still have Robert and Mikkel and your grandfather and everyone was there, right? Sitting at that table, and I have chills talking about it right now, 430 years of experience at that table. And at that time, I was 8 years with the company. I was like the baby compared to all these guys, right? I mean, you got Reed, 35 years. Robert's got over 35 years. Your dad's been doing this since been following your pappy around since he was 7, and been doing it since he was 17, okay? So the amount of experience in this company is incredible. And to me, it's golden because when I tell everyone I've probably got one of the easiest jobs in the company, I'm not lying, because I got all this great experience behind me that makes me look good. So I love the company. I love being part of it. And I'm glad I knew your dad 10 years ago when the opportunity came around.
So what questions would you tell a client to ask about their stained glass windows?
You mean if they were considering a project?
Absolutely.
I mean, there's a lot, but I guess some of the main things are, obviously, is look at the reputation of that company. How long have they been around? Collectively speaking, we've been around, incorporated since 1898. We are in the third generation of the third family to operate this awesome company, okay? So longevity is a big one, because if something does go wrong in 3, 5, 8 years, are they still going to be around? Even in my short 10 years, I've seen studios come and go. So that's kind of amazing to me when I look at us, right? I would say the next one is probably, do they have any type of warranty? Are they going to stand behind their work? And we do. We have a 10-year craftsmanship warranty. That's something very important. The products that they use. You know, you can go down and buy window glazing at Home Depot for $3 or $4 a tube. The stuff that we buy with our buying power cost over $10, $11 a tube. This is stuff specifically designed for stained glass windows, so it doesn't aid in the deterioration of the windows in the future. So this is all stuff we've learned over the years, our history, our experience. And these are tough questions to figure out, but it's also the reason that your dad wrote the book, you know, Preserving Your Stained Glass Windows. I would say if you're truly looking to do a project, go on our website, put your email in, download that book, and read it. It's 47 pages in layman's terms. It's not propaganda for Associated Crafts and Willett Hauser. It's 47 pages of how to take care of your windows. So this is going to give you that knowledge to ask the right questions and pre-qualify that company. The other one that I feel is really big, okay, is you want to look at them on the Better Business Bureau, which we have an A+ rating. But even bigger than that is a Dun & Bradstreet. This is a credit report for businesses, right? And this tells you whether that company is financially sound or not. Now, we've all been through, especially, I mean, most of your people that are on a church committee are my age or older, you know, so 40s, 50s on up, okay? So we've all been around for it. We've seen the good times and the bad times, right? We've seen people in business get taken, okay? We never like to see that, okay? So doing the Dun & Bradstreet makes sure, lets you be sure that you're working with a company when you hand over that deposit check that they're actually going to show up and do the work. So I've had jobs tripped up out there because the carpet guy took the money and ran on the church. And now the church or the client is left scrambling to figure out this hole in their project. And they're calling me going, Timmy, we're going to have to talk. I don't have the money right now. It's terrible. So you want to be really, really sure of who you are dealing with. And we've been around for a very long time. And the last thing I'll throw into that question, if you have the time and you can make it up there and you're really considering a project, you want to take yourself and a few of those key committee members, maybe the pastor, and you want to come up and visit our studio. Because our studio is by far the state-of-the-art studio in the nation, and it will absolutely show you what goes into fixing those windows, and it'll let you understand why this work is so creative and laborious and intense and needs to be done correctly. So those would be the things, I guess, that you should really be looking at, right? Go see the studio, know they've been around for a while, pull that Dun & Bradstreet, I tell all my customers, if you're looking at me and two other studios, I'll pay for the Dun & Bradstreets.
Because it's that important.
It's that important. And even if you go with the other company, probably won't happen, but it's their right. So other than that, to me, those are the important things. And those are things that I preach to my customers, to my potential clients. I tell them, did you do this?
Yeah, because they need to be well informed and
Sure.
understand that there's more than just glass sitting up there in their windows in their church.
Yep.